Instagram. Okay. And hello, everyone else. All right. Welcome, everybody. Gosh. All right. Welcome to another Tuesday live show, Dad University. I'm Jason Kreidman. I'll be here with you the entire time. So if you guys have questions, feel free to jot them in the chat, and I will be happy to answer them for you. So we'll give people a couple minutes to get on, because we obviously are very timely here at Dad University. I worry about that part quite a bit, sometimes to my detriment. So I'm going to answer some questions. I've got a couple topics we can cover today if people want to just sit and listen as well, but I certainly love to interact, and that's why we have this show, is so that we can be live. We've got I got Instagram here, I've got YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter Periscope as well. So if you're on your favorite channel, it's great. Come and join us. Let me see some people coming on. Jules. Hello, Jules. How are you? Jules has a question. Let me see. How can I convince my child to eat healthier? He does okay when we're not around, or he does okay when we are around, but when he's not around, or when we're not around, he's not okay. That's a great question. So with kids, at first you hope that you're setting a good example. That's going to be really important. And the other part is to make sure, when you teach your children, you can't watch them 24/7. And so part of I don't know how old the child is, but part of it is to be, consistent with your teaching and teaching the child that, eating healthy is very important. I'm guessing because you are asking the question that you probably eat healthy too. So we'll kind of just assume that, so that, monkey see, monkey do. You're doing what you want them to do. Depends on the kid's age. I know for my kids, I've got a 9 and almost 11, and certainly we try to maintain healthy foods and having certain things in the house and not having other things in the house. There's certainly a couple different philosophies about that. The other would be when you're teaching them healthy habits, your hope is that they'll be able to make those decisions on their own. And so, because you cannot watch them 24/7, so you're going to want to, hope that you teach them and over. And of course, part of what's important too is that they are honest with you. So when you ask, hey, what did you have to eat over at your friend's house? And they say, oh, well, I had a bunch of carrots and celery. And you know that they didn't, and they may have had candy or other stuff. But if they do say, hey, well, I had some candy and I had these snacks, you go, okay, well, thank you for telling me. And that's about it. Reprimanding them and getting them in trouble is not going to have them trust you, and it's not going to have them want to, tell you what's going on in their life. So we're all good on streams. Streams are good? Okay. For Instagram, it sounds okay? Okay. Let's see. Oh, another question. Gregory Harris. Hey, Greg, what's happening? My schedule is very busy. How is it possible to spend more quality time with my kids? Because my schedule is so busy. Well, the first thing I would ask is, how are you spending your non-busy time? In other words, your free time that you might feel like you're busy, but maybe you have, at night you're watching TV, or in the mornings, or doing something like that. So one of the things I've had a video on this, and one of the things I had said was to take an inventory of your time, and we are all busy, and it's very hard sometimes to feel like you can fit everything in. You want to spend time with your kids and your spouse, and you want to be you're a good employee or business owner, and so that can be difficult, to do that and to balance that. I would say that maybe a suggestion, Greg, is to schedule it. Just like you schedule appointments for work, I would say schedule things with your children. So, Thursday at 7:30 p.m. to 8 o'clock p.m., we are going to play a game, or we're going to do something together. And that's kind of the best way I could say is that, if you have to schedule it, you have to make it a priority. So part of, you have to do is evaluate what are the different things that I'm doing, and then make them a priority, and if spending the time with your child is a priority, you will find the time. That's just something that'll happen. So, let's see. Yeah, if you've got any other questions, be sure chat them in. Instagram, good seeing you. Let's see. It's getting back from the Memorial Weekend. People are a little slow. Yeah, a couple people. Hey, Justin, how are you? Jake, also good to see you. Thank you. Let's see. Justin's got a question. My son is 16 months old. When should we start trying to potty train him? So there's a couple different schools of thought on that. The thing is that the way that you potty train is, has a factor on it as well. My wife did this, and it worked very well, but our kids were totally different. My daughter, it's funny, we tried very early on, if I recall. My wife handled a lot of this part. I didn't start my dad university until after I realized I didn't know what I was doing. I think our son was about two-ish, 2.5, and we tried to do the same thing with my daughter, but she really didn't take to it. And then a little bit after that, it was actually our son who helped my daughter get potty trained. But some people will use, cloth diapers, some people use regular diapers, and then the other is just letting them run naked all around and, for a couple days, and then they realize, oh, I've got to go to the bathroom, and then they go to the potty. So there was also a really good video that we were watching. There's some really good videos I'd suggest. At 16 months, what I can say is that you can always try, and you can kind of see how it goes. I mean, it's the same thing with anything in development. Every child is different. Every child will take to things differently. And so, it's worth a try to see, hey, are they understanding the concept? Are they understanding what's going on? And if they are, continue forward. And if they're not, then, that works too. So Jake had a suggestion, said, I showed my son how to potty train by wearing adult diapers. So there you go. That could work too. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are some very, interesting ways and some unique ways to show your children how to do that. That's, it's something that, like I said, every child's going to be ready at a different kind of period. But you want to make sure that, probably by 2.5, 3, you're introducing that and at least testing it to make sure. Because, they had indicated, I believe, that when they go to preschool, usually around 4-ish, they're supposed to, they need to be potty trained. So you're going to want to make sure that'll happen. But what happens too with many young kids is they don't understand the concept. But then there's other ones that'll just like get it like nothing. So it kind of depends. So good to see you guys on. If you guys got any questions, just be sure to write them down. I'll be happy to answer. So we just started about the potty train. Liam just asked, when should my children start school? I think around 4 is preschool. Some kids will do it at 3. Same kind of thing is you're going to want to see, at that age, a lot of it is the socialization as well. So if they're in daycare, let's say when they're even younger, then they're going to be probably a little bit more inclined, or they'll be a little bit more comfortable with going to preschool than if they were at home the whole time and with mom or dad for 3-something years every day. So yeah, that's something. Thank you, Justin. I appreciate that. You and your wife. That's great. Love having you guys follow the videos and watch. I appreciate that. If you guys got questions, write them down. Be happy to answer. But, for Liam, yeah, sorry. That's like, see, this is just like when I'm recording my other videos. Good thing they're recorded because I jump around a lot. And so I get something that pops in my head and I start answering another question. So, or maybe it's the, what is it? Like a shiny red object. A shiny red object. Something on the screen flashes when somebody talks, and then all of a sudden my attention moves away. Let's see. Pete 06543. How do I motivate my children? I might need to know the context a little better. But children, let's see. It's a good. I love these questions. Sometimes they're hard to answer right on the spot. So motivating children is not an easy thing. One of the things that comes right to mind is positive reinforcement. When a child does something and you give them positive reinforcement, meaning thank you so much, that was wonderful, wow, that must have been really difficult and you did it. I mean, however you're giving that positive reinforcement, or thank you, that helped me so much, that typically then will push them to do that behavior again. And so that's one way to motivate them. I might have to Jake said candy will motivate them. So it does. I would say I would try to refrain from, my philosophy is to refrain from rewards for motivation. What can happen is, like, if you do stars, like on a board, if you do, some sort of candy or desserts, or even sometimes praise in a certain way. Positive reinforcement and praise can be two different things. If you're motivating with external things like that, then what can happen is that then they're always going to be expecting that, and then they're always going to be needing that in order to be motivated. So I think it depends on the context. As an example, let's say schoolwork, where the children are getting a little older and they're not very motivated to do it. In that scenario, you might want to find out why they're not motivated to do it. So it could be too difficult for them. It's not interesting. There could be multiple reasons, and so you want to find that out. So one of the things I think that that I believe in too is that you find what they are good at, and you can find out things that motivate them. So an example might be, they might want to, learn in a different way, and that's why they don't seem very motivated, meaning it's just not that interesting to them. So I'll give you, actually, this is a good example, is reading. As your children get a little older, as your children get to, grade school and such, and at least where we live, they are encouraged to read quite a bit. And so for many children, they don't like to read. And that can be because either one, they're not very good at it, they haven't learned it enough, so their confidence level, they're not very confident in it. The other is the material that they're reading is not very interesting. So what you want to do is you want to introduce different types of books to them. And so, they might not be interested in a book about sports, or they might not be interested in a book about music or plants or astronomy or, and all of these different subjects. And what you have to do is you have to keep on introducing different things and find out what your children are interested in. For the most part, small children, they're interested in something, and they can get motivated in various ways. And so, like I said, we want to try to avoid rewards. But I might just, maybe if you are on there still, you can say why, or what it is that you're trying to motivate them. Or I will say too is that parents will often totally losing my train of thought as far as motivation. They will think that the child is not motivated, but they are. Or it's not as motivated, the child's not as motivated as they would like them to be. So that's something that you have to keep in mind too, is that the context of the motivation, you might think that they should be doing something much faster than they are, but that might be their speed. And I know that happens a lot. I recall with my children all the time that I would have expectations of how fast that they were supposed to be doing something. And so I might perceive that as that they weren't motivated or they're not very interested, when the fact is it just took them a lot longer to do something. And so that was something that I had to sort of play with. Hey, Matthew, what's happening? Twins. All right. Jake, that could be a serious question. I'm not sure if it is, but how do I get my child to do the moonwalk like MJ? Watch some videos. I can't do it here because you won't be able to see my feet and we have to move all the cameras, but maybe in a future episode, I actually can moonwalk. I know nobody knows that, but I will. And wearing adult diapers, that I have not done. I have not wore adult diapers while showing somebody how to moonwalk, but that is pretty good. So, any other questions? Not about adult diapers or moonwalking? We're totally open, but I like having that fun too. That's cool. Let's see. NYC Allen. I love my children, but it can get overwhelming. Is it normal to feel like that, like they're driving you nuts? Yes. Simple answer. Yeah, so that's hard. I've done a couple videos talking about the difficulties of fatherhood and difficulties of parenting. And nobody is immune to that. And, I myself get very frustrated at times. It feels overwhelming. It can be simply the parenting aspect of it. It can be the fact that you're trying to be a good husband. You're trying to be a good son. You're trying to be a good friend. You're trying to be a good parent. You're trying to be all of these things. And that can be overwhelming. And so certainly your children, when you are stressed and when you are, sort of feeling all the pressure and the weights of everything like that yes, it can be very, very overwhelming. And so, I think it's completely normal that parents will feel like the kids are driving them nuts. Your words, not mine. But I think there's something to keep in mind. And I have done a lot of work with this on my own, and that is to try to minimize the effects of how your children and how the effects of how anything affects your mood. And we've talked about, how you get to choose your mood, how you get to choose how you want things to affect you. And so being overwhelmed, I know it doesn't feel like it at all, but it actually is a choice. It is because I deal with this one all the time. I mean, I operate at a high stress level. I've got many, many things going on at once. And so I sort of by default operate at an overwhelmed level. And if I don't talk to myself and say, okay, let's get back to reality here. Let's calm down. Hey, that's a different situation. I can't let that affect me. And sort of doing those kinds of exercises and those kinds of self-talk can really help you keep your sanity. And that's the truth. So I think it's totally normal to feel overwhelmed. It's then how can we combat it and how can we manage it? And that's what's really important. So good question. If you guys have any other questions, Instagram, and then we've got Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, and YouTube. If you guys got questions, please write them down, and we'd be happy to answer those.
Got some new visitors on Facebook.
What's that?
New visitors on Facebook too.
Yeah. There's some. Is there some coming in?
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't see any questions here, but that's cool that we've got some coming in. At Facebook, if you've got some questions, be happy to hear them. I'll try to be, well, I guess it was written here, so I'll try to keep that in perspective. But so Jake wrote, we have a boy coming in July. Congratulations. What is your perspective on parents trying to keep the labor and delivery experience as private as possible? We both have tons of something on both sides of the family. Some people that you're not so happy with. So, hey Chad, good to see you. So here's what I think. I think that you have the right to do your labor and delivery how you want to do it. So it is how you and your wife or you and your significant other, you get to decide that. And yeah, I mean, some people might say that it's selfish and the family wants to experience it with you, but the truth is that it's not theirs. Yes, in a perfect scenario, other people want to enjoy what you're enjoying, and they want to help. I mean, maybe they want to experience that, but the truth is it's yours, and you get to decide that. And if there's stress because of it, you just have to be prepared with whatever those potential ramifications are. So, for some families that might not be as communicative and they might not be as understanding, then you might risk those in your family not wanting to ever talk to you again or not wanting to be around you. And but that's something that you have to evaluate. I mean, that's totally an individual thing. There's probably a reason, and if there's a reason you don't want them there, and that's and that sucks. I'm sorry, I'm sorry that's a reality. As far as keeping it private, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, but you're going to have to be prepared to deal with whatever those ramifications are. You can't be surprised that if people then are very upset at you because you didn't share the labor experience with them. That's what's going to happen. But if you're prepared for that and you're totally cool with that, then that's good too. Got a question. Hope that helps. Got a question from Gnarly. Some people just being Jake, very funny. Gnarly, how do I best support my wife during labor? If you're talking about the labor itself, meaning the actual delivery of the baby, you get to potentially hold her hand. If you're doing a natural childbirth, you get to assist her with breathing and in the activities. If you are not, then you're there for support and just making sure if there's anything that she needs. Maybe you can specify, Gnarly, if you mean during the labor of the actual delivery or just in sort of maybe, well, you did say labor versus pregnancy, but because there's a lot more you can do during the pregnancy. We actually talked about that on the last live, which was, being there and actually asking her what she needs. Certainly there might be some common things where you can, be there to help comfort her, and you can be there to, morally support her and everything, or, physically support her as well as mentally. But I would ask her, different women have different requirements. And, she might say, oh, I don't really need anything. I would dig deeper and say, no. Even if it's not for you, I want to help. It helps me. What can I do to help you? And, hopefully she has some answers for you. But I think that's an important question that spouses need to ask is, how can I help you with this? How can I support you in this? And hopefully you have good enough communication with your spouse that, they can do that. If they're not able to communicate, that's hard too. But if you're coming to them with the idea that you want to help and you want to support them, ask them how they want to be best supported. And hopefully she, can provide that answer. So, people are funny. If you've got any questions, feel free to jot it down. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, Twitter. What should I be calling it? And then also Instagram. Ali, how do I show my kids the value of money? Should I pay for certain things and then they pay for certain things? A little confused. Sorry. So yeah, teaching kids the value of money is a really important thing. There's a saying that when I had on one of my podcasts a financial sort of a financial advisor, and one of the things that was really important that stuck with me was this idea that parents say we can't afford it, and instead saying I'm going to choose not to spend my money that way. So when the child is at the store or the child wants something, and this is when they're young or even if they're older, and they say, hey, I want this. And often a parent's response is, well, we can't afford that. The truth is that you might be able to afford it. You just don't want to spend your money on that. And so you need to be honest about that. Because if there was something, let's say it's a $15 item, you just don't want to spend the money on that. But there are other things that you would absolutely spend $15 on and not even think about it. So I think it's important to make sure it's in the right context of being honest and saying, hey, how do I teach them the value of money? But you first got to be honest by saying, hey, that's just not something that I want to spend our money on or my money on, however you do it. The other is someone had recommended using cash. So what's happening in the age of credit cards is credit cards and debit cards and electronic pays and Apple Pays and PayPals and everything else which is great. I mean, I use all those things. But for children, what happens is that there's very little to see of the transaction, and what can happen is that what's happening is when they have cash, they can actually see the cash being taken away. So it's pretty valuable when they have something in their hand and then it's removed, so that they can see that it's no longer there. Whereas when it's in electronic form, you really don't get to see that transaction. So that's been something that I've tried to instill with our kids. And then the other is that they've got to earn their own money to pay for things, especially if it's something extra.
I think that's kind of what I meant, is how can I teach them the value of money without paying them for chores? So how do you teach them the value of money without paying them to do the...
Yeah, so Something, and we've been good about it at home, and then not, and then good about it again, is so we don't pay for chores, but we the children are to get money for being part of our family, and then they do, or they have responsibilities that are part of being part of the family. So in other words, they don't get $1 because they're doing this. They get $1 because they're part of the family, and then they also have to do these things. And so the context is a little different in that the money isn't pure transactional based on what they're doing. It's more of a communal thing where they do get money that's part of the family, but as also part of the family, they have to do these tasks and these responsibilities.
Sounds like salary.
It is. It's kind of like a salary. So yeah, I think that's another way to teach. Kind of teach the value of the dollar. I definitely want to have more discussions about money. I think that's a really important one, and my kids are definitely at that age where, they're the value of money is starting to be understood. They have, hey, what's up, Acted Ed? They have been doing these sales like on weekends and stuff, and they're becoming really interested in selling lemonade and cookies and doing these things because they want to raise money. And so and I'm in support of that and trying to teach them. In fact, they had some leftover stuff that they wanted to make sure they sold first before they bought new inventory. So I was teaching them because they wanted to go sell cookies. So they said, well, hey, can you go buy us some cookies? And I said, well, no, you can buy the cookies out of the money that you made last time, and because you're going to have to pay for the supplies. So that's something that they have to understand is the cost of inventory. Oh, by the way, they're going to sell lemonade. Well, cups cost money, and the materials cost money, and so they have to learn that, and that's been valuable, as a learning process to do that. So I'll definitely try to get some more expertise in that. I do have some things about saving money and different ways to save money, but as far as teaching your kids the value of money, that's definitely a topic that I think is pretty valuable. So we'll try to do a video soon about that. Acted Dad, yeah. Have you ever gone to garage sales? Yeah, we've done some small things, nothing major, but yeah, I could see some value in that if you're sort of teaching them. We've had our own garage sales, that's for sure, and the kids were able to make money. What's that?
The Ross thing. Actually, we're gonna take some.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to revive that. I went down and I did it for a little bit. Was teaching them sort of retail arbitrage, as it's called, which is basically, find items at discount retailers, Ross and Walmart and that kind of stuff that's on sale, and then reselling it on eBay or Amazon or however you want to sell it. So I was trying to teach them that. They have some interest, but not quite as exciting as selling cookies because they can eat the cookies. So we still need to do a little bit more work with that one. So. Let's see. Yeah, we got some. Yeah, no, teaching them how to budget. Yeah. Got a couple minutes left. If you guys got any additional questions. So Jake asked, who were your heroes that you looked up to growing up? So more of a personal thing. A hero. My dad was a hero to me. Still, heroes. A lot of my heroes were sports related at the time. I was very, very into sports, as a kid. And so for me, a lot of my childhood heroes, other than wrestling, were, world wrestling. My heroes were soccer players, and then I played volleyball, and so beach volleyball players was something in California that, I looked up to a lot of those guys. And then also in the world of, when I was younger, I was really, which I still am, into lifting weights and working out. And so some of the professional bodybuilders, I had thought that like that was an area of interest of mine. So for me it was primarily athletes at the time, and that's who I looked up to. So not so much I think maybe fictional characters or something. The heroes for me were those. It's an interesting question. I had to think about it. So I also we just did last week a TV show, getting parenting advice from 80s TV shows, and some of those characters, I guess some of it was fictional characters. Some of those characters were the dads, you kind of look up to. So that was something that which if you haven't caught that, I thought it was a great video. I think it's very interesting, just the idea of getting parenting advice from television shows. So maybe check that out. It's we go over these sitcoms of the 80s and how they were influential, and some of the parenting advice that they provided was just awesome. I mean, there was some great stuff in there. So so yeah. Hey Davino, how are you? Glad you could join us. See if there's anything else. Gavin, good to see you back. Yes, I know. Going from Brady Bunch to Al Bundy was quite the difficulty. There was quite a change in television shows, so that is something that was different. So yeah, it's good to see people coming back and coming back for more. I do want to get some feedback on the time. That's one of the things that we've been looking at. The timing is convenient for me. It's not always convenient for everybody else. So, we have some international people. I say international, outside the U.S. And then people, if you're working, on the West Coast, this is happening a little bit before you're able to join us, unless you have some flexibility. So that's something I wanted to kind of throw out there as well. Sorry. Jake, how long did it take you to be a professional at changing your baby? Not very long at all. That was something that happened very quick. In fact, I was just at a conference for parents, and they had a diaper changing speed contest. And I actually did fairly well. I wasn't the fastest, but they had like a doll set up and then diapers, and you had to change it as fast as you can. But yeah, no, I would say that my skills became pretty expert level, and part of that is just I changed a lot of diapers. I wasn't afraid to. And as Gavin says, it's like the time that you get to spend with the child is kind of nice too, as long as they're not extremely squirmy and insanely crazy dirty diapers. Then yes, but even that's part of it. So you get to be pretty good, and I am going to make a diaper changing video. We just did how to hold your baby, and I've been getting some requests for that. So Gavin was asking, any recommendations on changing tables, baby monitors, etc.? I am not necessarily a product guy, but I can tell you or recommend Dad Verb. The channel on YouTube, Dad Verb, I don't know if he has the same on Facebook, but he's excellent with all of that. Baby monitors, changing tables. He does a great job in reviewing products. And so, so Dad Verb would be someone I have I don't necessarily have personal. What I will do though is when I do when I do the changing of the diaper video, I will provide some recommendations on the types of things that I recommend. So as an example, and here's why, because like for baby monitors, we didn't use a baby monitor. Some people like that, they want to have that, so I can't really tell you what's that. For changing tables, I can tell you we did finally put our child at a little bit of an angle, and so that was an important thing. And I'll go over that in some of the video, and then also about using wipes and how you use the diaper and such. So, but specific brands and how they function and what's best, that's something that's a little beyond my expertise. And here's the thing too, with products, is that there are so many products, and there's so many things for convenience, but the truth is that you can get away with almost having nothing. You look at some of the third world countries and some of the other areas where, or not even third world, some of these other areas where these things aren't as popular, and a lot of them are convenient items that are sometimes overkill. I think you end up spending a lot of money on products that you don't really need, but certainly people want that, and I'm not saying that with like a baby monitor. Somebody wants to make sure the baby's okay, they can do that. But with certain things, I remember, it was a warmer for the baby wipes, and we had to make sure we had a warmer at all 3 baby stations around the house, and it was like, it just became overkill, where you really don't need that many things. You end up spending too much money on too many things, and you're better off saving your money. So, any final questions? We've got last couple minutes here. Want to tell you guys, make sure every Thursday we've got our our dad advice video. We release YouTube and Facebook. Also, we're doing Instagram now, Instagram stories. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channels, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Do I exercise regularly? Active Dad, yes. Yes, 6 to 7 days a week I exercise. So I get up very early and I exercise. Joshua just found out you're having twins. Congratulations, that's awesome. That'll be fun. When are they due? If you tell us when we're due, we'll make sure we give a shout out again and make sure that's cool. So yeah, I appreciate all you guys coming out, men and women actually, coming out and hanging with us during this time. If you've got questions, Dane, good to see you. It's nice to see people here, and come back and hang out with us. Christmas-ish. Okay, Joshua, that's good. You got some time. You got plenty of education during that time. But I appreciate you guys coming out. Come hang with us next week, same time on Tuesday. I'd love to see you guys out there. Another Josh, you're welcome. Thank you guys. Good seeing you guys on here and supporting the channel as well. And I'll keep making these videos as long as you guys keep watching them. So I appreciate that. So with that, we are going to sign off, and we'll see you next time.